He called me sweetheart while he signed my termination papers. I sat across from Derek Ashford in the fourth-floor conference room of Ashford Tech Solutions, watching his Mont Blanc pen scratch across the severance agreement. Outside the window, Boston Harbor looked gray and cold. Inside, the air conditioning hummed too loud. It was 8:47 a.m. on a Thursday. "Vivian, I want you to know this isn't personal," Derek said. He didn't look up from the paper. "But the Sentinel project needs a stronger technical lead, someone who can handle the pressure without getting emotional." Emotional. I'd worked on Sentinel for 2 years. I'd built the entire back-end infrastructure from scratch, the authentication protocols, the database architecture, the automated update system that kept 14,000 client servers running without a single crash. I'd worked 80-hour weeks. I debugged code at 3 a.m. while Derek was asleep in his Back Bay penthouse. And last Monday, I'd pushed back on his nephew. That was my crime. Trevor Ashford, Derek's 24-year-old nephew with a community college certificate and 0 professional experience, had waltzed into my team meeting and suggested we simplify the encryption to make the system more user-friendly. I explained, calmly, that weakening encryption would violate our contracts with 16 financial institutions and expose us to massive liability. Trevor had laughed. "You're overthinking it. This is why women struggle in tech. You're too cautious." I stared at him. "I'm cautious because I know what I'm doing." He'd reported me to Derek for hostility and creating a toxic work environment. Now I was sitting in a termination meeting while Trevor was being promoted to lead systems architect. Derek slid the papers across the table. "You'll receive 4 weeks severance. Your benefits end on the 30th. We'll need your laptop and access badge before you leave today." I looked at the severance agreement. 4 weeks. For 2 years of work. For a system I'd built, line by line. "And the Sentinel handoff?" I asked. "Trevor will be taking over immediately. He's already reviewed your documentation." My documentation. The 200-page technical manual I'd written. The one that explained how the system worked, but not why certain protocols were locked behind administrative credentials. I picked up the pen. "One question," I said. Derek checked his Rolex. He had a 9:30 tea time. "Make it quick." "Who has root access to the update server?" He frowned. "You do, obviously. That'll transfer to Trevor today." "And the authentication keys?" "Also transferring. IT will handle it." I signed the agreement. My signature looked calm, steady. "Great," Derek said, standing. He extended his hand. "Best of luck, sweetheart. You'll land on your feet." I didn't shake his hand. I stood up, tucked the severance agreement into my bag, and walked out of the conference room. Past the developers who wouldn't meet my eyes, past the break room where Trevor was laughing with 2 interns, past the reception desk with the Ashford Tech Solutions logo. Innovation through excellence. I took the elevator down to the lobby. I handed my laptop and badge to the security guard. I walked out onto Atlantic Avenue into the cold March wind, and I checked my phone. 8:59 a.m. 4 minutes until the daily server update. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just waited. Because Derek Ashford didn't know that root access wasn't enough. You also needed the passphrase. And I was the only person who had it. I went home to my apartment in Somerville, a 5th-floor walk-up with radiators that clanked and a view of a parking lot. I made coffee, I sat at my kitchen table, I opened my personal laptop. At 9 a.m., My phone buzzed. A text from the Sentinel System admin account. Daily update failed. Retry scheduled for 9:15. I sipped my coffee. At 9:15, another text. Daily update failed. Manual intervention required. I smiled. Let me explain how Sentinel worked. Ashford Tech Solutions sold cloud-based security infrastructure to mid-sized businesses, law firms, medical practices, accounting offices. Sentinel was our flagship product. It monitored their networks, ran automated security patches, and flagged vulnerabilities in real time. The system updated itself every day at 9 a.m. automatically. No human input required. Except the update server required two-factor authentication. The first factor was root access. Anyone with admin credentials could log in. The second factor was a rotating passphrase stored in an encrypted key file that regenerated every 72 hours. I designed it that way. For security. And I never told anyone else where the key file was stored. It wasn't in the documentation, it wasn't in the code base, it was on a private server I'd set up in my first month at Ashford Tech Solutions, a backup system Derek had approved but never asked questions about. The passphrase reset every 3 days. The last reset had been Tuesday. Today was Thursday. Tomorrow, the current passphrase would expire, and the system would lock everyone out until someone manually regenerated the key. But you couldn't regenerate the key without access to the private server, and only I had that access. At 10:32 a.m., I got an email from IT. Subject: Sentinel update failure urgent. Vivian, we're unable to complete today's system update. Trevor says you configured a secondary authentication layer. Can you provide login credentials? Thanks. Muck. IT. I didn't reply. At 11:18 a.m., Trevor called me. I let it go to voicemail. His message was, "Hey, Vivian, so there's some kind of password thing blocking the update server. I'm looking at your documentation, but I don't see it mentioned anywhere. Can you shoot me a text with the credentials? Thanks." I deleted the voicemail. At 1:45 p.m., Derek called. I answered. "Vivian, Derek Ashford, we need you to provide Trevor with the update server credentials. I don't work for you anymore." This is time sensitive. Our clients are expecting today's security patch. Then you should have kept the person who built the system. Silence. Vivian, I understand you're upset. I'm not upset. I'm drinking coffee in my kitchen. You're the one who sounds upset. His voice hardened. You're legally obligated to provide access to company systems. It's in your employment contract. I provided everything I was required to provide. Root access, documentation, hardware. If Trevor can't figure out the system, that's not my problem. You can sue you for sabotage. You can try, but the authentication layer is documented in the system architecture overview I submitted to your CTO in January 2023. It's not sabotage if it's in the paperwork you didn't read. I heard him breathing. Heavy. Angry. What do you want? He asked. Nothing. I'm unemployed. I have 4 weeks severance. I'm fine. I hung up. At 4 p.m., the Sentinel system sent an automatic alert to every client. Security update delayed, rescheduled for Friday, 9 a.m. At 6:30 p.m., my phone rang again, a number I didn't recognize. I answered. Ms. Cruz, this is Alan Mercer, CEO of Ashford Tech Solutions. I sat up straight. Alan Mercer rarely got involved in day-to-day operations. He was the money guy, the board meetings and investor calls guy. If he was calling me, Derek had escalated. Mr. Mercer, what can I do for you? I'll cut to the chase. Derek tells me there's an access issue with Sentinel. I'm told you're the only person who can resolve it. That's correct. We're willing to bring you back as a contractor. Temporary basis. You fix the access issue, we pay you for your time, everyone moves on. What's the rate? We'll match your previous salary. Hourly. I'd been making $95,000 a year. That worked out to about $45 an hour. No, I said. Excuse me? I'm a contractor now. Independent. My rate is $500 an hour. Silence. That's absurd, Mercer said. That's market rate for emergency systems consulting, especially when the emergency was caused by your own poor management decisions. We're not paying $500 an hour. Then good luck with Trevor. I hung up. I sat in my kitchen and waited. I knew Mercer would call back. Men like him always did. They thought negotiation was about who blinked first, but I wasn't negotiating. I was stating terms. Friday morning, 9 a.m. The Sentinel update failed again. By 9:30, the system sent a second alert to all 14,000 clients. Critical security update delayed. Manual patch in progress. Except there was no manual patch, because Trevor didn't know how to access the update server. By 10:15, I received my first LinkedIn message, a security director at one of Ashford's biggest clients, a law firm in Manhattan that paid $18,000 a month for Sentinel coverage. Ms. Cross, we're hearing concerning things about Ashford Tech's system stability. Are you still with the company? We'd like to discuss alternatives. I didn't reply, but I saved the message. By noon, 3 clients had called to cancel their contracts. By 2 p.m., a thread on Reddit's r/cybersecurity had started. Is Ashford Tech having a security crisis? By 4 p.m., a journalist from TechCrunch had emailed Ashford's PR team asking for comment on reports of system failures and potential data vulnerabilities. I know all this because I still had access to the company Slack. Nobody had thought to revoke my login. I watched the chaos unfold in real time. Derek Ashford, 2:47 p.m. Trevor, where are we on the update fix? Trevor Ashford, 2:50 p.m. Still working on it. The authentication is more complex than I thought. Derek Ashford, 2:51 p.m. We don't have time for complexity. Just reset the server. Trevor Ashford, 2:58 p.m. I tried. It's locked behind some kind of encrypted key. I think Vivian hid it on purpose. Derek Ashford, 3:02 p.m. Find it. I don't care how. Trevor Ashford, 3:34 p.m. I brought in a consultant. He says the system architecture is custom built, and he can't bypass the authentication without risking data corruption. Derek Ashford, 3:35 p.m. How much is he charging? Trevor Ashford, 3:36 p.m. $400 an hour. Derek Ashford, Jesus Christ. I closed Slack. I poured a glass of wine. I checked my bank account. The $7,500 severance had hit that morning. It would last me 6 weeks if I was careful, but I wasn't worried about money. At 5:47 p.m., Trevor posted in the company-wide Slack channel, Trevor Ashford, quick update on Sentinel. We've identified the issue and are working with external experts to resolve it, expecting full restoration by end of weekend. Thanks for your patience. Translation? We have no idea what we're doing and we're desperate. At 6:15 p.m., my phone rang. Alan Mercer again. Ms. Cross, we have a situation. I'm aware. Our clients are threatening to leave. We're facing potential regulatory scrutiny from the SEC because 2 of our clients are publicly traded companies. We have a board meeting Monday morning, and I need to tell them this is resolved. This needs to be fixed immediately. Then hire someone to fix it. We've tried. We brought in 2 outside security consultants. One said the system is too customized. The other quoted us $15,000 just for an initial assessment. Neither of them can guarantee a solution. Sounds like you need the person who built it. Mercer exhaled slowly. I could hear his exhaustion in his voice. We'll pay your rate, $500 an hour. How soon can you start? I looked at my calendar. I had nothing scheduled, but I waited 10 seconds before answering. I can start Monday. Monday? We need this fixed now, today, tomorrow at latest. Then the rate is $750 an hour, weekend emergency rate. That's extortion. That's consulting. You want it fixed today? It costs more. You want to wait until Monday? It's $500. Your choice, Mr. Mercer. Long silence. I could hear him breathing. I could almost hear him doing the math. $750 an hour versus losing 14 clients at $18,000 a month each. Fine, $750, but I want this resolved tonight. I'll need a signed contract. Email it to me in the next hour. Payment upfront for the first 10 hours. Upfront? You fired me yesterday. You don't get credit terms. He hung up without saying goodbye. 42 minutes later, I had a consulting contract in my inbox. Standard terms, liability waivers, payment schedule. I signed it electronically. 6 minutes after that, I received a wire transfer notification, $7,500 deposited into my account. Then, I opened my laptop. I logged into the private server, the one I'd set up in month 1, the one Derek had approved with a distracted signature on a requisition form he never read. I navigated to the encrypted directory. I regenerated the authentication key. I updated the passphrase. I pushed the security patch to the Sentinel update server. At 8:32 p.m., the system updated successfully. All 14,000 client servers received their security patch. The Reddit thread went quiet. The crisis was over. Total time worked? 37 minutes. Total payment received? $7,500. I sent Mercer an invoice for the remaining 2.5 hours at $750 each, $1,875. He paid it without comment. I'd made $9,375 in under an hour. Derek had paid me $95,000 a year. I poured another glass of wine.
Monday morning, Alan Mercer called me at 8:03 a.m. Ms. Cross, we need to discuss a more permanent arrangement. I was at a coffee shop in Davis Square, drinking a latte and reading the TechCrunch article about Ashford Tech's near-miss security incident. The article didn't name me, but it quoted it anonymously. I smiled. What kind of arrangement? I asked. Trevor can't manage Sentinel. That's become clear. We need you to stay on as a contractor. Ongoing basis. Part-time. What happened to needing a stronger technical lead? Mercer sighed. It was a deep, defeated sound. Derek made a personnel decision I didn't agree with. I wasn't in the office when it happened. I was in Singapore meeting with investors. By the time I found out you'd been terminated, you were already gone. But he's my COO, and I have to support his decisions publicly. Privately, I'm asking you to come back. As a contractor. Correct. Not as an employee? Correct. You'll have full autonomy. You work remotely, you set your own hours, you just keep Sentinel running. And what happens to Trevor? Trevor will remain on the team in a junior capacity. He'll report to you. I let that sit for a moment. Trevor Ashford, the man who'd called me too cautious, who'd told me women struggle in tech, would now report to me. What's the rate? I asked. $500 an hour. We'll contract you for 30 hours a week. That's $60,000 a month. We'll do a 6-month initial term with an option to extend. I did the math. $720,000 a year. More than 7 times my previous salary. But I wasn't done. I want final authority on all technical decisions related to Sentinel. No interference from Derek, no interference from Trevor. If I say we need to upgrade the infrastructure, we upgrade. If I say a feature request is a security risk, it gets rejected. My word is final. Agreed. And I want a formal apology, from Derek, in writing, acknowledging that my termination was unjustified and based on gender bias. Silence. Ms. Cross, I can't force Derek to apologize. Then I can't force myself to sign a contract. More silence. I heard papers rustling, a door closing. Let me talk to him, Mercer said quietly. I'll see what I can do. You have until Friday. If I don't have that apology by 5 p.m., I'm taking a contract with a firm in San Francisco. They've already made an offer. That was a lie. But Mercer didn't know that. I'll handle it, he said. I hung up. On Thursday at 3:42 p.m., I received an email from Derek Ashford. Subject: Apology. Vivian, I was wrong to terminate your employment. Your contributions to Sentinel were invaluable, and I made a poor judgment call based on incomplete information. I recognize now that my decision was influenced by biases I was unaware of, and I apologize for any harm caused. I hope we can move forward professionally. Derek Ashford, COO. It wasn't heartfelt. It wasn't sincere. The phrasing was stiff, like it had been written by a lawyer. But it was in writing. And biases I was unaware of was corporate speak for, I'm a sexist, and my lawyers told me to admit it without admitting it. I forwarded the email to my personal account. Then I signed the contract Mercer had sent. For the next 6 months, I worked remotely. I logged in twice a week to maintain the Sentinel system. I monitored security alerts. I answered Trevor's questions when he got stuck, which was often. I attended exactly 0 in-person meetings. I billed $500 an hour. Every hour was documented, time-stamped, and invoiced on the first of the month. In July, Ashford Tech landed 2 new major clients, a healthcare network in Chicago and a financial services firm in Austin. Both contracts were worth over $200,000 annually. Alan Mercer sent me a bonus, $10,000. The note said, "Thanks for keeping us afloat." In October, Derek Ashford resigned. The official reason was pursuing other opportunities. The real reason, according to the Slack channels I still monitored, was that the board had lost confidence in his leadership after the Sentinel crisis. They'd hired an outside consultant to review the company's operations, and the consultant's report had been scathing. Trevor left 2 weeks later. He took a job at a startup in Austin that promised to disrupt the cybersecurity industry. I looked them up. They had $2 million in seed funding and no actual product. The startup folded 8 months later. Alan Mercer offered to bring me back full-time as Chief Technology Officer, salary $220,000 plus equity. I declined. I liked consulting. I liked working from home in my sweatpants. I liked billing $500 an hour and choosing which projects to take. I built a client list, other companies that had made the same mistake Ashford Tech did, firing experienced engineers to save money, then panicking when their systems collapsed. They all learned the same lesson Derek did. You can fire the person, but you can't fire the password.
I still get calls from Ashford Tech once a month. Usually it's something small, a server glitch, a client integration issue, a security audit that Trevor's replacement can't handle. I bill them $500 an hour, same as everyone else. They pay without complaint. Last week, I saw Derek at a Whole Foods in Brookline. He was in the produce section, holding a bag of organic kale like it might solve his problems. He saw me. I saw the recognition flash in his eyes. The shame. I didn't say anything. I just smiled. And I walked past him to the checkout lane, carrying a bottle of wine that cost more than his severance probably allowed him to spend. He called me sweetheart when he fired me. He doesn't call me anything anymore, but he still pays my invoices. And every time I see that wire transfer hit my account, $7,500, $12,000, $18,500, I think about that termination meeting, about the Mont Blanc pen, about Trevor laughing in the break room.
I think about the look on Derek's face when the system crashed. And I think about the fact that I'm sitting in my apartment in Somerville, drinking expensive coffee, working 4 hours a day, and making more money than I ever did when I had a boss. You don't need a corner office to win. You just need to be the only person who knows where the password is. If you want more stories about people who got fired and came back stronger, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens when arrogance meets consequences.